For thousands of years, the rule was clear. Never wake the humans. It was not just a warning. It was the law of survival. Every empire, every species, every child across the galaxy grew up hearing those words. It was written in books, whispered in council meetings, and carved on walls near the edge of the old Earth sector. But after so many years, some forgot. The scavenger ship Talrith drifted through dark space, far from any trade routes. It was an old, rusty vessel, filled with broken tech and tired crew. They were looking for salvage, scraps of metal, maybe a forgotten energy cell or old weapons to sell. They had no idea they were about to wake a storm. "Captain, we found something," said Krell, a young, curious, lizard-like being. He pointed at the screen. "It's a vault. Human design." The rest of the crew froze. For a moment, no one spoke. The captain, a large insectoid creature named Dravik, narrowed his eyes. "You're sure?" Krell nodded. "Positive. It's a cryo vault. Ancient. Still sealed." Dravik clicked his mandibles nervously. "We take a quick look. No touching. No waking. You all know the rule." The Talrith docked with a massive metal structure floating silently in space. It was black, cold, and covered in dust from centuries. Strange human symbols glowed faintly on its surface. The crew entered slowly, their lights cutting through the darkness. Inside, they saw rows of cryopods, thousands of them. Each one held a human in deep sleep. Pale skin, closed eyes, still like statues. Krell walked ahead, his eyes wide with wonder. He had never seen a human in real life. "They look peaceful," he whispered. "Don't get too close," Dravik warned. "Their peace is our safety." Then it happened. Krell stepped onto a small platform. It beeped. The lights above flickered. A low hum filled the room. Dravik shouted, "Get off it." But it was too late. One pod hissed. Steam burst from its sides. The glass slowly lifted. And inside, a human opened his eyes. For a moment, nothing moved. The human blinked, confused. He breathed slowly, looking around. His muscles tensed. His eyes, sharp and deep, studied everything. Krell stumbled backward. "Daliu, we didn't mean to." The human sat up. "Where am I?" he asked in a low voice. Dravik raised his weapon, shaking. Don't move." The human looked at the weapon, then at the crew, then at the pods around him. His expression changed. Confusion turned to concern, then to fear. Why are the others still sleeping? Alarms blared on Talrith. Systems glitched. Navigation crashed. The ship's AI repeated one phrase. "Human presence detected," alerting all sectors. Far away, in the galactic core, leaders looked at the alert with horror. One of the council members dropped his glass. "It's not possible." Another whispered, "The humans. One of them is awake." Emergency signals were sent. Borders were closed. Fleets ordered to fall back. All over the galaxy, people panicked. In the cryovault, the human tried to stand. His legs were weak. Krell reached out to help, but Dravik pulled him back. "We have to leave," Dravik said. "Now." "No," the human said softly. "Tell me, what year is this?" Krell looked at his pad. "It's galactic year 7129. The human's face went pale. "That's over 3,000 years since we went to sleep." He looked around, pain in his eyes. "Where is Earth?" Dravik didn't answer. The human stood, slowly. He touched one of the nearby pods, his hand trembling. "We were promised peace. We gave up everything. Why am I awake?" Silence filled the room. Then the human said something the crew didn't understand. A single word, but it made the lights dim and the air feel heavy. He said, "Protocol. Memory lock override." His eyes glowed for a moment. Data surged into his mind. Memories, battles, voices, the final moments of Earth. He gasped, staggered, then stood straight. He was no longer confused. He was awake. Fully awake. The message spread faster than light. Human presence confirmed. Every major government, military, and space station received it. At first, they thought it was an error, a glitch, a joke. But the alert didn't go away. It repeated again and again, in all known languages. One human has awakened. In the galactic core, inside the silver towers of the High Council, panic exploded. Ambassador Trell, a tall, thin alien with glowing veins, rushed into the chamber. "We have visual confirmation," he said, "from Sector 0. Counselor Garuin, who remembered the first human war from ancient records, stood up slowly. "Seal the borders. Pull our fleets back from human space." "But the humans are extinct," someone said. "They've been asleep for over 3,000 years. "No," Garuin said, voice shaking. "They chose sleep. That is not the same." Across the galaxy, systems went dark. Ships changed course. Trade routes were shut down. Entire colonies began evacuating, even if they were hundreds of light years away, because everyone remembered the old warning. If a human wakes, the galaxy bleeds. Back in the cryovault, the lone human, his name still hidden behind memory locks, stood silently. The scavenger crew stared at him, afraid to move. "Where is Earth?" he asked again. Dravak didn't speak. Krell stepped forward slowly. We don't know. The records say it was destroyed." The human's eyes narrowed. "By whom?" "We don't know," Krell whispered. "The records were sealed." The human clenched his fists. His jaw tightened. Then he took a deep breath. "You shouldn't be here." "We didn't mean to wake you," Dravak said quickly. "We didn't know. No one should have entered this place." Suddenly, the lights changed. The vault's AI spoke for the first time in millennia. Awakening protocol confirmed. Identity recognition. Captain Elias Ward. Human Earth Defense. The human blinked as his name returned. Elias. Ward. Memories came rushing back. He saw ships burning, planets falling, voices crying. He remembered Earth's final vote, to sleep rather than destroy everything. "We gave the galaxy peace," Elias said. "Why was that not enough?" His voice was calm, but something cold moved beneath it. Something heavy. In the far reaches of space, an ancient AI satellite activated. Its only job, to alert the galactic powers if humans ever woke. It had one final message stored for 3,000 years. Now it played. "To those who hear this, we chose sleep, not surrender. We chose peace, not weakness. If even one of us wakes, it means something terrible has happened. Do not lie. Do not run. Because if we rise with memory." The message ended. Galactic leaders were frozen in their seats. Chancellors fainted. Generals issued orders to evacuate outer colonies. One admiral said, "We need to send a message of peace." Another shouted, "Peace. You think they'll listen now?" On the Talarith, Elias sat alone inside the vault's control room. The systems hummed around him, old machines waking after long sleep. He accessed human memory cores. Images appeared, Earth before its fall. Its oceans, cities, children laughing. And then, the footage of war. Ships from across the galaxy surrounding Earth, demanding surrender, threatening destruction. Earth had no choice. It fought back. In 1 week, 5 major civilizations fell, but Earth paid the price. Billions lost. So, humanity voted to sleep, to give the galaxy peace, and to be forgotten. Until now, Dravak watched Elias silently. He had seen monsters. He had fought pirates. He had survived war. But this human, he was different. Not angry, not loud, just, still, like the eye of a storm. Krell spoke softly. "What will you do now?" Elias looked up. "I will find the truth." He stood, Stronger now, clearer, the lights in the vault turned white, recognizing him as commander. "I don't want war," Elias said, "but I will not allow lies to bury Earth." He turned to them. "You have a choice. You can help me, or you can leave." Krell looked at Dravak. Dravak sighed, antennae twitching. "We woke you. We will not run." Elias nodded. "Then let's begin." Far across the galaxy, inside a secret military base, a general watched Elias's image on screen. He whispered, "The human is awake." And he remembers. He pressed a button. "Prepare the firewalls. Send orders to erase all Earth records. We can't let him find the truth." But it was already too late. The past was rising, and the galaxy would soon remember what it had tried to forget. Captain Elias Ward stood inside the vault's core chamber. Lights flickered as systems long dormant came back to life. The hum of energy grew louder. Data flowed across screens, whispering pieces of the past. Elias didn't speak. He watched as memory files played out in front of him. Silent images at first. Earth's green lands, blue skies, children waving flags, people building cities with joy and hope. Then the pictures changed. Ships from other species entered orbit. Talks began. Then threats. Then attacks. Dravak and Krell stood behind Elias, not sure what to say. They could feel something building inside him, a pressure, like a storm forming in the distance. Krell finally asked, "Why did your people choose to sleep?" Elias kept his eyes on the screen. "Because we had already won, but we didn't want to become monsters." Krell blinked. "I don't understand." Elias turned slowly, his voice calm. "They came to destroy us. We answered with fire. Our technology was beyond theirs. We could have wiped out the galaxy, but we didn't. We made a vote to sleep and to leave the galaxy in peace." Dravak's mandibles clicked nervously. "And now?" "Now," Elias said, "someone has erased Earth. Our name. Our truth." The vault's AI suddenly spoke again. "New data detected. Memory lock breached successful." A hidden file appeared. Classified. Final days of Earth. Elias opened it. The room dimmed. A hologram appeared. An old man with white hair and deep eyes. It was Earth's final chancellor. His voice echoed softly. "To any human who wakes, know this. Earth was betrayed. The Galactic Council feared our strength. They planned our end in secret. They lied about peace. They came for our children first." The image showed children being taken. Burned cities. Human colonies destroyed quietly, without cause. We answered. We struck back. But in the end, we chose to stop. We entered cryo-sleep to protect what little remained. If you are awake, it means they found this place. And they still fear us. The recording ended. Silence filled the vault. Elias closed his eyes. He saw the faces, the ones they couldn't save. The cities turned to ash. He remembered now. Everything. Outside the vault, the scavenger ship Talarith picked up a message on open space channels. It was a warning sent from the Galactic Council. "All ships, if you encounter a human, do not engage. Do not approach. Notify command and evacuate the area." This is not a drill. Krell's scales turned pale. They're afraid. Just from one man. Dravak looked at Elias. "You said you don't want war. But if they try to erase Earth's truth again, what will you do?" Elias stepped forward, voice steady. "I will show them what they tried to bury." He reached into a hidden compartment. A silver box appeared. When he opened it, lights flared. Inside was a small device, the last Earth beacon. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. This beacon carries the memories of Earth, the culture, the names, the voices, all of it. I will broadcast it to the galaxy. Dravak stepped back. "You'll break the silence pact." Elias nodded. "Good." In the Galactic Council chamber, the lights suddenly dimmed. Every screen across the galaxy flickered. Then, Earth's anthem played. A voice followed. "This is Captain Elias Ward of Earth Defense. I remember who we were. I remember what was taken. And I will not forget." Images played across thousands of worlds. Humans building, loving, dreaming, and then falling. The Council tried to shut it down, but it was too late. The truth was free. On small colony planets, civilians watched in silence. Some cried. Some held their children close. Others looked to the stars, whispering the name Earth for the first time in centuries. A spark had been lit, a memory restored. But not everyone was pleased. In the shadows of a fortress world, a hidden faction of the Council prepared. "He remembers," the leader hissed. "Activate the hunters. One human is still one too many." Back in the vault, Elias sat quietly, staring at a photo, his family. He whispered to the air, "I'm awake now, and I won't stop." He turned to Krell and Dravak. "They're coming for me. For us." Dravak nodded. "Let them come. You're not alone anymore." The galaxy had changed in just one day. Every major world was talking about it. Earth's name, once lost, now echoed through space stations, trade posts, and military channels. People asked questions. Fear returned to the powerful. And in the shadows, the Galactic Council reacted fast. They didn't send diplomats. They sent killers. 3 black ships slipped through space, silent and hidden. Inside them were the Council's deadliest soldiers, Void Reapers. They were not machines, but close. No names, no feelings, just one mission. Kill the human. Erase all proof. On the scavenger ship Talarith, Captain Elias Ward moved through the halls like a man preparing for war. He was silent, focused. His hands adjusted the vault's defense systems, activating old weapons that had slept for centuries. Dravak watched him from the side. "We should run. We are no match for Council assassins." Elias didn't stop working. "If we run, they'll keep coming. And next time, they'll kill everyone who helped me. You, Krell, others." Krell hissed from behind a console. "They'll destroy the entire moon to erase you." Elias finally looked at him. "Let them try." Far above the moon, the Void Reaper ships uncloaked. Their leader, a tall, masked figure with no face, issued a single command: "Kill everything." They landed in silence. No alarms, no warnings. But Elias knew. He stood waiting at the front entrance of the vault, alone, helmet in hand. The human armor he wore now shimmered faintly, old Earth tech, designed for war, banned by the Council long ago. He whispered to himself, "I didn't want this." Then he placed the helmet on his head and became the last soldier of Earth. The Reapers moved in, fast, silent, deadly. The first wave entered the vault, red eyes glowing, blades drawn. Elias didn't hesitate. He moved like lightning, grabbing the first attacker and slamming it against the wall with bone-breaking force. The armor on his body adapted, shifting as he fought. Blades bounced off. Bullets slowed. Nothing touched him. He wasn't just fighting. He was remembering. Back on the Talarith, Dravak and Krell watched the battle unfold on the monitors. Security cameras shook with every impact. "It's he, winning?" Krell asked, almost afraid to believe it. Dravak stared at the screen. "He's not just fighting to survive. He's fighting like he's done this 1,000 times." Outside the vault, the second wave of assassins arrived. Heavier units, more weapons, faster reflexes. They surrounded the vault. But Elias had already planned for this. He activated the defense grid. Old Earth weapons hidden in the rocks lit up. Turrets rose. Energy beams sliced through the darkness. Missiles launched with deafening thunder. Explosions lit the sky. One by one, the assassins fell. Inside the vault, Elias faced the Reaper commander, the one sent to end him. The commander raised a long blade, crackling with dark energy. "You were supposed to stay asleep," it hissed. Elias raised his arm. His armor hummed. "I woke up," he said, "and I remember everything." They clashed. Blades met fists. Sparks flew. The ground cracked beneath them. The Reaper was fast. But Elias was faster, smarter, angrier. With one final move, Elias grabbed the blade and snapped it in half. Then he drove his fist into the Reaper's chest. Silence followed. The battle was over. Smoke rose from the valley around the vault. Fires burned in the distance. Elias stepped out into the open air, armor-scarred, blood on his face. Dravak and Krell rushed to him. "You fought them all," Krell whispered. You won." Elias didn't smile. "They'll send more," he said. "Now they know I'm not just awake. I'm alive." Dravak looked at the burning remains of the Reapers. Why fear one man so much? Elias looked up at the stars. "Because I'm not just one man. I'm the memory of Earth, and they killed everything I loved." Across the galaxy, the Council held an emergency session. A commander shouted. "One human destroyed 3 elite squads. This is not a normal soldier." A counselor growled. "He was trained in the last war. Earth's tech was banned for a reason. We need to end this now." Another added, before others join him. But one counselor stayed silent. Then finally said, "He is just the beginning." On distant worlds, humans in hiding saw the broadcast. They saw Elias fight. They saw the Earth armor. And they remembered. Old veterans, farmers, young mechanics, those who still carried the blood of Earth, stood up. One by one, a spark had become a fire. Elias had survived the assassins. Now others would rise. The fire that began with one human had spread like a storm across the galaxy. Captain Elias Ward had awakened the past. He had broken the silence that the galaxy's rulers had tried so hard to bury. And now, the echoes of Earth's fire burned in the hearts of those who had forgotten what humanity could do. Elias stood on the bridge of the Talarith, his eyes fixed on the endless black of space. The battle against the Void Reapers was over, but the real war had just begun. His enemies would not rest. They had seen what he could do, and they would not allow it to continue. Krell and Dravak stood behind him, eyes fixed on the stars as well. The air was thick with tension. "What now?" Dravak asked quietly. Elias didn't answer right away. He knew the answer, but it wasn't a simple one. "Now we prepare. We fight." Back on countless planets, the message had spread. Through black market channels, through underground networks, through the whispers of those who remembered Earth's power. Humans, scattered across the stars, began to rise. Old soldiers, veterans of forgotten wars, dug up old weapons from their homes. Farmers, builders, and traders who once lived quiet lives picked up tools that could destroy fleets. They were not soldiers, but they had the blood of Earth running through them, and that made them dangerous. On the Council's flagship, the message was clear. They could not let this rebellion spread. A plan was set into motion. "We underestimated them," the Council's leader muttered, looking out into space. "A single human survived our attack, and now he's a symbol." One of the senior commanders stepped forward. "We can stop this. The humans may be awakening, but they are still scattered. We can crush them before they unite." The leader nodded slowly. "We need to act fast. Target the human colonies, one by one, and send a warning. This galaxy does not welcome rebellion." Across the galaxy, Elias was not alone in his fight. As word spread, small cells of resistance began to form. Each human who heard the call of Earth's fire felt the same thing. A sense of purpose, a desire to fight back against the beings who had once ruled over them. They would not go back to being forgotten. One such group, led by a former military commander named Sarah Lynn, sent a message to Elias. She was based on a small colony on the edge of Council space. She was surrounded, outnumbered, but she was determined. "We're ready to fight. We'll stand with you. Together, We can remind them of what Earth was. Elias didn't hesitate. He sent a response. We'll come to you. Hold fast. On the surface of the colony, the air was thick with fear. The Council's fleet had arrived, and its ships filled the sky like a storm. Sarah Lynn stood at the front of the resistance fighters, her hand gripping the hilt of a long-forgotten weapon, a blade from the old days of Earth. She had no illusions. The battle would not be easy, but she had the heart of Earth with her. When the first shots rang out, the battle for the colony began. On the Tallarith, Elias sat in the command chair, his fists clenched. The coordinates were set. They were on their way to join Sarah's fight. But he knew the risks. The Council was powerful. They had fleets, and they would stop at nothing to end this rebellion before it spread. But Elias knew something they didn't. Humans did not give up. Not when the last breath had been taken. Not when the last bullet had been fired. Elias had seen the fire in the eyes of those who had heard his message. They were tired of being weak. They were tired of being silent. They wanted Earth back, and they would do anything to get it. As the Tallarith entered the colony's atmosphere, the battle was already in full swing. Resistance fighters clashed with the Council's soldiers in the streets. Explosions rang out, and smoke filled the air. Sarah's voice came through Elias' comms, breathless but strong. We've got them cornered, but we need more firepower. Are you ready? Elias didn't hesitate. We're here. Let's finish this. The Tallarith unleashed its weapons, and the sky lit up with energy blasts. The Council's ships overhead faltered. The battle was about to change. Sarah's soldiers rallied, emboldened by the sight of the human ship above them. They fought with renewed strength, pushing back the Council's forces. But the Council was not finished. A fleet of warships arrived, larger and stronger than before. They were determined to squash this fire before it could spread any further. Elias looked at the stars outside the window. Let them come, he said, a fierce fire in his voice. We're not running. We're not hiding. This ends now. The final battle had begun. The galaxy watched as Earth's fire spread. Resistance groups across the stars began to rise, joining the fight. Humans fought for freedom. They fought for Earth. They fought for each other. And they would not be stopped. The Council had finally realized one terrible truth. They had awakened something they could no longer control. Earth's fire was not a single flame anymore. It had become a wildfire, spreading across systems, igniting hope and rebellion wherever a human still breathed. And now, with their fleets weakened and colonies slipping from their grip, the Council was ready to make a desperate move. Their last gamble. Inside the Grand War Chamber, the Council leaders argued, their voices sharp with fear and frustration. This cannot go on, one of them shouted. That one human, Elias, he started this. If we don't stop him, there won't be a galaxy left to rule. Another, older voice replied, then we end it now. We will unleash the Omega Protocol. The room fell silent. The Omega Protocol. It was not a fleet or a weapon. It was a purge. A command to erase any planet where humans had taken root, even if millions lived there. Meanwhile, aboard the Tallarith, Elias stood surrounded by holographic displays. Red alerts blinked on every screen. They're not fighting to win anymore, Krull muttered. They're fighting to destroy everything. Dravak nodded grimly. The Omega Protocol. I heard rumors about it. It's death. Planet-wide cleansing. No survivors. Elias stared at the glowing stars ahead. Then we'll stop them. Because if we don't, billions will die. Elias sent an emergency message to every human colony in the stars. The Council has changed the rules. They plan to burn us out, completely. But we have a plan. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the final stand. Across the galaxy, humans answered. From mining colonies on frozen moons to jungle-covered worlds hidden deep in space, they prepared. They built defenses. They forged weapons. They trained. It wasn't just humans either. Other species, those oppressed or forgotten by the Council, joined too. The fire Elias lit had crossed species lines. He wasn't just a human hero now. He had become something else, a symbol of defiance. But Elias had more than a message. He had a real plan, using ancient data from Earth's final wars, information the Council never knew existed. Elias had uncovered a secret, a dormant satellite weapon hidden in deep space. It was from Earth's golden age, before the Silence, a last resort system known only as the Eye. If activated, the Eye could disrupt communications, jam fleets, and send out a blinding pulse that would leave the Council vulnerable for just long enough to strike. But there was a catch. The Eye could only be activated from its core, manually. Elias stood in the armory, suiting up. He knew what it meant. He'd have to go alone. It was a one-way trip. If the Council realized what he was doing, they'd blast the satellite out of the sky. Krell stepped into the room. "You're not doing this alone." "Yes, I am," Elias said. "I started this war. Let me finish it." Dravak arrived behind them. "You won't be finishing anything if you get killed on the way." Elias looked at them both and smiled. "Then you better make sure I get there." The Tal'Larith shot through hyperspace, heading for the secret location of the Eye. Behind them, a swarm of Council warships followed, their engines burning hot with rage. Time was running out. As the ship neared the weapon, the stars seemed to darken. The old satellite, shaped like a giant eye, floated silently in the void, forgotten, but not dead. Elias turned to his crew. "This is it. Once I go in, keep the Council busy. Don't let them through. If I fail, Earth burns." "You won't fail," Krell said. "You're human." Inside the satellite, the halls were quiet. Dust floated in the air. Systems long dormant came to life as Elias moved toward the control core. He could feel the hum of old Earth technology, cold, powerful, and loyal. He reached the main console. A screen blinked. "Are you ready?" Elias placed his hand on the panel. "I was born ready." Outside, chaos exploded. The Tal'Larith was surrounded, locked in battle with the Council's elite ships. Lasers flew, shields shattered, alarms screamed. Krell piloted with fury, dodging fire. Dravak barked orders. They couldn't hold much longer. Then, suddenly, the stars blinked. The Eye had opened. A pulse rippled across the galaxy. Council ships lost power. Their fleet communications failed. Sensors went dark. In that moment, the galaxy blinked and humanity struck. Human-led resistance groups launched coordinated attacks. Colony fighters rose from every hidden outpost. Council forces, blinded and scattered, fell back in confusion and fear. They had lost control. And now, they had lost the war. Back on the Tal'Larith, a message came through. It was Elias. "We did it. The Eye is open. The Council is broken. Tell them. Earth remembers." And just like that, the galaxy changed forever. From one forgotten rule to one burning truth. Never wake the humans. But now that they were awake, the stars themselves would never sleep again. The galaxy had gone silent. Not the silence of fear. Not the silence of control. But the silence that comes just before something new is born. The Council's fleets were shattered. Their proud flags had fallen. The Omega Protocol had failed. And Elias, the human they tried to erase, had turned an ancient weapon into a beacon of rebellion. Humanity had returned, not as survivors, as leaders. The Tal'Larith hovered above what was once the Council's core world. The massive city planet lay quiet now. No parades, no speeches, just the sound of ships landing and people cheering. Elias stood at the ship's window, watching thousands gather in the capital square. He had been many things: a soldier, a survivor, a forgotten soul. Now, he was something else. A voice spoke behind him. "They want you to speak to them." It was Krell. Her face carried a mix of exhaustion and pride. Elias turned. What would I even say? Krull shrugged. Maybe start with the truth. As Elias stepped out onto the high platform, a hush fell over the crowd. Beings from 100 different worlds stood side by side. Humans, Thaluri, Virax, even a few former council species. He raised his hand. He didn't need a speech. He just spoke from the heart. You were told a lie. That humans should never be awakened. That if they returned, everything would burn. But the truth is simple. We are not monsters. We are not gods. We are people, flawed, stubborn, loyal. And when pushed, we fight, not because we love war, but because we refuse to let anyone suffer alone again. The crowd was silent. Then the first cheer rose. Then another. Then thousands. The sound shook the air. Elias stepped back, his voice low as he whispered to himself. Never again will humanity sleep while the stars cry. 1 month later, a new council formed. Not of rulers, but of equals. Humans didn't take over the galaxy. They rebuilt it. Systems once ruled by fear were now free to speak. Colonies once ignored were finally heard. Elias refused to leave the new council. He had no interest in power. Instead, he helped build a school on the ruins of an old war base. He called it the Academy of the Awake, where every species could learn together. Not just weapons and war, but truth, justice, and the cost of silence. But not all wounds heal easily. Deep in the shadow of space, pockets of council loyalists still remained. Angry, dangerous. One day, a young cadet ran up to Elias, breathless. Sir, sensors picked up something strange near the Graven Rift. A hidden fleet. Massive. Looks. Council designed. Elias didn't blink. Activate the watchtowers. Bring in the allies. And tell them. He paused. Tell them humanity is awake. And we don't hit first. But we always hit back. Epilogue. Legends spread quickly. Stories of the human who broke the council. Of the crew who flew the Tal'Rith into 1,000 battles and came out stronger. Of a galaxy once ruled by fear, now rebuilt by courage. And one phrase, passed down to every child on every world. Never wake the humans. Not because they were monsters, but because once humans stand, they lift others with them. They carry pain. They fight with heart, and they never, ever forget. Now, when the stars whisper at night, they do not whisper warnings. They whisper respect, because the galaxy no longer belongs to tyrants. It belongs to the ones who were silenced and rose anyway. It belongs to the awake. It belongs to humanity.